Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well and having a good day. Rabbanim all over the country, all over the world, are dealing with halachic shilas that we've never really had to deal with before, at least in our generation. Davening b'yechidus. Most of us have had to daven b'yechidus from time to time, but on a mass level, for days, weeks at a time, davening b'yechidus, and especially Shabbos. For many, this Shabbos will be the first time they've had to daven b'yechidus and miss Kriyas HaTorah. That is our mitzvah today, to do that. But it poses many halachic questions, many shaylas, and much of the day, where I wasn't running around with my kids and teaching, I was trying to learn the halachos of davening b'yechidus, especially regarding Shabbos, some of the questions that come up, and we'll put together a document which we'll mail out and text out to the shul to allow people to have the best experience possible and keep all the proper halachos of davening on Shabbos when alone. One shayla which I'd like to discuss tonight is probably the most discussed, and that's laning. Now, we have a chiyuv to lane, chiyuv, a takana of Moshe Rabbeinu or takana of Ezra to lane every week. And we can't lane this week. We can't have a minyan, even if one has a Sefer Torah. Minyanim are prohibited. It's not even a mitzvah haba b'avera today. It's an avera to get together a minyan. We don't daven with a minyan. We don't have Sefer Torah. So what can we do? Is there anything to do? And it's an interesting question. There is a Ramah in Siman Kuf Mem Gimel in Orach Chaim, where the Ramah describes a situation where there was no Torah. There were communities that did not have a Torah, but they had a Chumash. Maybe even all Chamisha Chumshe Torah put together like we have today, the stone Chumash. And the Ramah says if you're going to read from that Chumash, you can't recite a bracha. You can't recite the brachas Asher Bachar Banu Michol Amim, Asher Nasalan Torah Zemes. You can't recite those brachas. Baruch Hu Hashem Amavora can't be recited on such a Chumash. Comes along the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham there, I think it's Sivkat and Beis. The Magen Avraham says, even though you can't read it with a bracha, you should still read it. Read from the Chumash. Why should the community read from the Chumash? Shelo tishtakach Torah's kriya. The concept of Kriyas HaTorah should not be forgotten. The Ramah is talking about a community that has no Torah. It could be week after week. It could be a year. It could be decades until they get a Torah. So the Kriyas HaTorah will be forgotten. So says the Magen Avraham, they should still read from a Chumash. No brachos. No aliyahs. I was excited. I was going to sell the aliyahs to my kids this week. No aliyahs, no brachas. We should read the Torah. And the Magen Avraham even says, B'kol Ram, you should read it out loud. You should lane it with the trup if possible. The Pri Megadim extends that to a case where you have a group in a community where they have a kosher Sefer Torah, but there's no minyan. You need a minyan to lane. You need a minyan to lane either because Baruch Hu is Dvar Mishnah B'Kedusha, needs 10 people, or laning itself might be Dvar Mishnah B'Kedusha, according to Lavush, it's a machlokas, but you need 10. You have a shul that doesn't have 10 people. You have a village, you have a Chabad house that might not have 10 people. They have a Torah, says the Pri Megadim, based on this Magen Avraham. Read it. It's not really laning because you need 10 people. You can't recite brachos, but you don't get the mitzvah of Kriyas HaTorah. But shelo tishtakach Torah's kriya, so laning is not forgotten. Says the Pri Megadim, take out the Torah and read it. The Pri Megadim says Haftorah also. Fascinatingly, he quotes the Shiari Knesset Hagadol, a commentary in the Beis Yosef, who says in his town, in his city, Izmir or Izemer, I don't know how to pronounce it, there was a dever, a plague, and they fled their city to go to a small village, and in that village there was no Torah. Take out a Chumash, lane from the Chumash, and read the Haftorah. That's the Magen Avraham and the Pri Megadim, the Shiari Knesset Hagadol, the Eliyah Rabbah, all say, read the Torah. You don't get the mitzvah of Kriyas Torah, but those are cases where you have a congregation. You have a congregation without a Torah, you have a congregation without a minyan, they say you should lane. Does that impact us? Does that impact a yachid, a person on a business trip, a person's traveling, a person's not feeling well and they're at home? Well, we all are in that situation this week, and probably more weeks. Does this apply to us? Shelo tishtakach Torah's kriya applies to a yachid. So the Sefer Isha Yisrael, which is a contemporary work on Hilchos Tefillah, quotes from the Ktsos HaShulchan, Reb Chaim Nah. We're familiar with Reb Chaim Nah from his machlokes with the Chazon Ish on Shiurim. We hear the Shir of Reb Chaim Nah and the Chazon Ish. Rabbi Chaim Noah says a yachid, an individual davening without a minyan, should read from a chumash. Doesn't explain why. One could argue, as some do, there's no concept that laning is going to be forgotten. We're a yachid, we're an individual. It's not a shul. But that's what the Ktsos HaShulchan says, quoted by the Isha Yisrael. And I believe that's what most Rabbanim, again, I'm still working this through, but I believe that's what most Rabbanim suggested for people to do last week for the shuls that were closed, and this week for all of us, to take out a chumash. Vayakel Pekudei, you could dust off the tikkun, you could read it from the chumash side, obviously. You have the trup there. We should lane Vayakel Pekudei. Haftorah is a little bit more complicated, whether that needs to be read. Maybe we'll share that tomorrow or later on this week in the document. But that's a story worth laning. What about chazak v'nis chazek? Should that be said or not? I'm not sure. We'll also work through that as well. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You have my number on this chat, and I look forward to seeing everyone shortly. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.